When I first joined CIA, huge push, CTC, I've seen the coin on your wall here, huge push for counterterrorism operations. And, you know, when you're 27 years old and you're first recruited into CIA, it's all black and white. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This group is a terrorist group, this group is a terrorist group, this group is a terrorist group. It wasn't until many, many years later that I looked at the list of labeled terrorist group, recognized terrorist groups, before I realized it's like 300 names long.
Yeah.
Basically, any group that has any kind of extremist belief that runs contrary to what the U.S. wants you to believe, they can simply label as a terrorist function, as long as, of course, they carry out acts of aggression and hostility. So that made me wonder, well, if we label these 300 groups terrorists, are we the only ones in the world that do that? So then I look at the UN. The UN, man, the UN has like 12.
Really?
Compared to the United States. So that means the unifying organization, the global organization that we belong to, only labels like less than 10% of the same groups that we label as terrorist groups.
Do you remember the list? Were there any surprises that weren't on there or that were?
Absolutely. Look, let's take modern day events right now. Hamas is attacking Israel. Hamas is a terrorist group in the eyes of the United States. And you'll see it. You see it if you drive through Chicago, New York, LA, giant signs that say, hey, Hamas is a terrorist group. In the eyes of the UN, they're not. In the eyes of the UN, Hamas is the recognized official government for Gaza. And even now, the West Bank, on the opposite side of Israel, has started getting closer relationships with Hamas. Hamas is recognized out of Qatar. They're recognized all throughout the Muslim world. Yeah. So that was a standout, relevant example right now. And once I realized the UN had a different opinion than the United States, then it made me look at our enemies.
Yeah.
And Iran labels the U.S. armed forces as a terrorist group.
Yeah.
So holy shit, man! When you have just bureaucracy policing, ethics, anybody can say anybody is anything, and essentially get widespread public momentum on their side.